Hello and welcome to Nana's Crafty Home. My name is Tanya. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to crochet and make this Gnome wine bottle topper. This is a very simple beginner level crochet pattern. We are simply using single crochet stitches as well as a single crochet decrease or a single crochet two together when we're working this nose, but very easy stitches. All you're going to need is about 65 yards for your main color of your hat, but you could certainly do this striped, you could do multicolors, you could use a variegated yarn, whatever your preference, and then just a really small amount of color B for your nose, about 3 yards. You're also going to need some faux fur. You're also going to need a small amount of coordinating embroidery thread. You're going to be using that to sew the faux fur to the inside of the hat. So you're going to want to coordinate that with the hat color that you're using. You're also going to need just a small amount of polyfill fiber fill for your nose. Really, probably only just about this much, not very much at all. You're also going to need a size H 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. I'm using my favorite Clover hook and a stitch marker as well. The faux fur is added to the inside of the front of that hat, back behind the nose. We sew that nose on right behind the hat front. And that's all there is to it. You can see this is a very easy construction. Basically, the hat is made from a crocheted triangle, working from the top down. And then instead of sewing, we fold the edges together and then single crochet all along that edge. That gives it kind of a rustic look. You could sew it if you wanted to, so you wouldn't have a seam, but I actually like that. And it has a point, it comes to a point down here at the bottom. For today's tutorial, I'm just going to be using some Caron Simply Soft in red for the hat and then an off-white for his nose. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so with your main color for your hat, we're just going to chain 2. And then we're going to work 2 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. Turn, chain 1, 2 single crochets in each stitch. So 1, 2 in that one, and then 2 in the last. That will give us a stitch count of 4 for row 2. And turn. For row 3, chain 1, single crochet in each stitch. Stitch count will remain the same at 4. Turn for row 4. Chain 1, 2 single crochets in that first stitch, 1 single crochet in each stitch to the last, and when we get to that last stitch, I'm going to work 2 single crochets in that last stitch. So basically I'm working an increase on each end, and this will start to create that triangle shape. For row 5, turn, chain 1, single crochet in each stitch. Turn. For row 6 through 43, we're going to be repeating rows 4 and 5. So in this one, I will be chaining 1, working 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 1 in each stitch to the last, and then working 2 in that last stitch. And then turning, chaining 1, and working 1 single crochet in each stitch. So every other row I'm working an increase row, and then the following row is just working 1 single crochet in each stitch. And you're just going to continue doing that through row 43 or to the size desired. I have found that working your triangle to about an 8-inch height is a good height for a wine bottle. And so if you're using a different size yarn, that would probably be a good measurement to go by. So once you've gotten to the size that you want, mine is 8 inches from the start to the end here, I'm not going to fasten off, and I'm going to fold the edges together, and I'm going to be single crocheting along this edge. So this is going to be the right side of my work. So just start working a single crochet through both ends along the edge evenly. This is going to create an interesting ridge along the back side of the hat. And just continue that all the way down your row. A good rule of thumb is to work 1 single crochet at the end of every single crochet row, and then that way you're not working your single crochets too closely or too far apart. Once you've single crocheted evenly all along that edge to the top here, you're just going to fasten off and then weave in those ends. And then we're ready to add our nose and our beard. So this will be the front, and then this is the back. So now we're ready to crochet our nose. So with my off-white, or my color B, your nose color, I'm going to make a magic circle, chain 1, and work 6 single crochets in that magic circle. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm gonna pull. So for row 2, I'm going to be working 2 single crochets in every stitch around, and I'll need my stitch marker to mark that first stitch. So there's 2. 2 in each stitch around. And you're going to have a total of 12 stitches. Now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the next 3, moving up my stitch marker. There's 1, 2, and 3, and now we're going to work 2 single crochets in the next. There's 1, 2, and I'm going to repeat that around. 1 in the next 3, and 2 in the next. For round 4, I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the next 3, moving up my stitch marker. And then I'm going to work a single crochet 2 together, and that is a decrease. So insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. 3 loops on your hook, you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And you're just going to repeat that around. 1 single crochet in the next 3, single crochet 2 together. At this point, I would recommend weaving in that beginning end, because once we stuff it, we won't be able to get to that end. And now we're ready for the final round, round 5. And we're going to be single crocheting 2 together 6 times around, which will close the nose in. And right before we get to the end, we're going to go ahead and stuff it. So that's the first one. Second one. Third one. Fourth. And the fifth. And at this point, I would recommend stuffing the nose, because you can see here the hole is starting to close up, and we want to be able to stuff it. So just take a little bit of polyfill stuffing, and you really don't need much at all. And once we've done that final single crochet 2 together, we're ready to close up that nose. And we're going to be weaving our needle in the holes of those stitches from that last row. And then pulling tightly as we go. And you see that pulls that hole together nicely. And then once we've done that, we can just close up that hole and weave in that end. And this is going to be the hidden part of the nose, so it doesn't have to be beautiful. You just want to make sure that the hole is closed and that end is secure. Now I'm going to take a nice long length of my main color yarn to sew the nose to the hat. And the nose is going to go in the center of the front of the hat. And you want the front of the nose to be facing you when you're sewing it. And you want it underneath the lip of the hat. So you're covering the top of the nose with the hat. And then you're going to take your needle and sew it securely to the top. You're going to leave a nice long length here so that you can sew that in, and then just sew the nose to the hat. Once you feel the nose is secure, then you can just weave in your end and weave it in from the back side. Alright, so now once our nose is sewn onto the hat, we're ready to add our beard. So I have some faux fur material here. This is of course much more than I would need. And basically you want to make sure you know which way your faux fur is going, which way the nap is going. So this obviously is going to be the top of my beard, and this is going to be as it comes down. If you were to go the other way, your beard would be going the wrong direction. So we're going to make sure before we cut that we know which direction we're cutting. This is the top and this is the bottom. And I only need about 4 inches at the top here. So I'm going to take my ruler and just mark what 4 inches over would be. And then about 4 or 4.5 inches long. And of course your beard is going to be longer in the front than the material in the back because you have that nap of the faux fur coming down. So make it as long as you like. This is going to end up being about 4 in material and then about an inch, inch and a half long below that. So that's a good length. And I'm going all the way over here. Now I want my beard to be somewhat tapered, you know, like a beard would be. And I'm going to cut from the bottom up. You only want to cut through the material if you can help it. If you try to cut the whole thing like this, where I'm cutting through with the scissors, you're going to end up cutting through the fur and it's not going to look very nice. So really when you're cutting this, the important thing is to try to just cut this back material if you can help it. An X-Acto knife is a great thing, like one of those razor blades would work really well. You can use a pair of scissors, most people have scissors, but just take the tiniest cuts to the material. You can see here that I'm really only cutting that material at the back of the beard and then I'm pulling away. So just the tiniest cuts, trying only to cut that back material. And see, then you can just pull it away and I still have a nice, I didn't cut through all of that because you can imagine that would not have looked very nice. And then I want to do the same thing towards this one, tapering up to the top. Just cutting, making small cuts through the material only. A nice full beard about the size that I want, and it'll get sewn to the inside of this hat like so. So I'm going to take some embroidery thread, get that on my needle, and we're ready to sew it. So this faux fur material is going to get sewn on the inside front right behind the nose. So you're going to want to fold the back of the hat back so you can see what you're doing. And you want it to be even. So it's about halfway. So just pick up the edge of the material. And sew it back and forth. Just making sure that you grab the material with your needle so it ends up being nice and secure. This doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not a seamstress. You just want it to be good enough that it will stick. cut. And there you have it, as simple as that. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today. Thanks so much for being with me. As always, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss a new video. You can find all of my free patterns and tutorials at nanascraftyhome.com. I will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.